Hey folks, Nella, back with the explanation behind this drawing. Who the heck are these two? Because I really don't think I've mentioned them to any of you. Um, so these two, Jayeddy and Keveddy, or Jay and Kev, or J and K, even, um, live at the Curiosity Shop with the spirit of the Curiosity Shop, Little Nell. Little Nell is actually called Little Nell because even though she's a shapeshifter, and obviously she has complete control over how she looks to everyone and how big she is relative to everyone, she likes to be the shortest and the smallest whenever she's interacting with anyone. Like, she will literally change sizes um, if someone else walks in the room who is shorter than she was presenting as. So, so these two are like best friends with Little Nell. Um, and they actually fulfill a very important role in the Curiosity Shop tales. A role that, a thing that I was having trouble figuring out how it worked. Let me explain. So, one of the things about the Curiosity Shop is that it exists outside of time and space, as I've said time and time again, and exists, and it doesn't have like a set universe or a set world that it's a part of. It's kind of like a meeting point for everywhere. One of the things, though, one of the consistent things is that almost every world that any of my characters come from, there's always rumors about the Curiosity Shop. Now, it's known as other things, but there's always some rumors about it. And I couldn't figure out how word of the Curiosity Shop was spread so far. Um, at first, I thought that maybe it was the people who, spend a little bit of time in the Curiosity Shop and then leave. Maybe they spread the tales. But that doesn't actually make that much sense because there's a good amount of characters where I'm still writing bits where people come and stay at the Curiosity Shop and then end up leaving, um, such as Boris and Natasha. Um, but that's more something I've mentioned on my live journal 8 years ago about them. Um, but they're actually a good example because Boris ends up going and staying at the Curiosity Shop, and then Natasha ends up tracking him down. Because she's heard rumors already. She's heard rumors of this weird place. And she finds him. She essentially, after a bit of time, ends up convincing him to come back with her. And the thing is, though, it doesn't make sense for those two to spread the word of the Curiosity Shop because the world that they come from does not have magic. It doesn't. There is no magic, there is no supernatural in their world, so no one would believe them. So why would they risk their credibility by telling all these crazy stories? So already there's a big problem. How can the story be so prevalent? The legend, the rumor of the Curiosity Shop be so prevalent and so universal if there's huge chunks of people that can't talk about their experience at the shop. Um, and after thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it, I ended up coming up with the idea of the herald of the Curiosity Shop. That there is someone whose task is to spread the tales of the Curiosity Shop. To essentially visit as many places and as many people as they can and just talk about the Curiosity Shop. Preferably have some sort of proof of the shop, but so long as they get momentum going and get people questioning and interested, then there starts being something for that rumor to really stick. And after thinking about that, I ended up coming up with Keveddy, who, yes, has bright yellow hair and red skin and a single unicorn horn. Because why not? Okay, not exactly because why not. Because when I was thinking out the idea of the Herald, I was sorting through some things that I was getting ready to list for sale. It goes back to the buying again. There's listing for sale, and there's actually a wig that I have that I really like, but none of my characters can wear. And I went, I really wish that I had someone who could have, like, neon yellow curly hair, wavy hair. And then it popped into my head, and I went, oh, well, the Herald can have that. It'll be super visible. Anyway, and soon after I came up with Keveddy, her twin Jayeddy came up and said, hey, all these stories that the Herald is spreading, there has to be someone that's keeping track of all of them, that's writing down all of this. And that's the archivist. Which they switch out who plays which role sometimes because no one wants to be stuck in the same place if they don't have to be. But they usually default to Keveddy being the herald and going off into the world, and worlds, I should say, and Jayeddy staying behind at the curiosity shop with Little Nell and essentially chronicling all of everything that's going on. Really. Actually, I'm toying with the idea that maybe some of the curiosity shop tales are actually Jayeddy's chronicles, because she really is not neutral in recording these things. She actually has essentially two versions of everything. She does a completely just like dry facts, no speculations, any of that stuff. And then she has like heavy duty, like purple prose almost, like really flowery poetic language, and in these epic scenes and stuff. And sometimes she gives Keveddy like the cut and dry ones, but sometimes Keveddy says like, okay, look, I'm going into a place where like going for the purely rational is not going to be helpful for making this for making the knowledge of the curiosity shop stick in that place. I need something really emotional. And that's when J.A. will have and the other version of the stories. So I'm kind of playing with this idea that the Curiosity Shop tales are a mix of Keveddy's chronicles, Jayeddy's chronicles, Keveddy's oral history, and Little Nell's actual like present observations of things. Because I don't know, I really like stories where like the narrator is like almost a character. So I like the idea of those three kind of being able to play out as narrator of various different stories. I think it'd be a fun dynamic. I should say, Jayeddy wasn't green the first time I did some mock-ups of her, but she had like super pale, like white skin. But I much prefer actually the idea that she has green, because then it kind of balances with the fact that Keveddy has red skin and yellow hair, and then Jayeddy has blue hair and green skin. Oh, other thing, I have Jayeddy's wig as well. I have both of their wigs. So yeah, what else can I say? Oh, right. You might be wondering, what is with the Eddie part of their names? Well, that goes back to another idea I had, because I've been playing around with a whole bunch of ideas off of YouTube and bouncing them off of a good friend, and just, kind of writing them down and then coming back to them and writing, brainstorming, essentially, really. Doing a back and forth myself. And one of the things I came up with is I kind of felt a bit odd that there wasn't sort of like a connecting story between the Curiosity Shop as an entity and the City of Way as an entity. Um, and there ended up being, and I wrote it down, it's a very bizarre thing, the kind of this idea of like there being like a shadowy something organization that essentially had branches in the different worlds in different universes, and that they were taking notice of the fact that, you know, these rumors of the Curiosity Shop were being spread in all these different places. Um, so they end up, essentially sending out to some agents to try and figure it out. Um, and I play with a whole bunch of other stuff. But one of the bits, the idea is that all the agents are they're known as the Eddies. I don't know why. Maybe because I like water imagery. Maybe because I just like the name Ed, and then Eddie just rolls off the tongue. um, but one of the ideas when I was trying to figure out how Keveddy and Jayeddy here end up at the Curiosity Shop, I came up with kind of this thread like, well, what if this organization sent out like essentially two trainees, and they ended up liking Little Nell so much that they couldn't bear to essentially spy on her and rat her out, knowing that this organization might try to destroy her, that they couldn't do that to her, so they essentially defect and essentially join her cause and want everyone to know how amazing the Curiosity Shop is, and by extension, how amazing their friend Little Nell is. I'm not sure if that's going to stick, but I do know that Jayeddy and Keveddy join the Curiosity Shop very early on in the Curiosity Shop's existence, but that they aren't created already in the Curiosity Shop. Like, there is a period of time where Little Nell is on her own, and the shop, which is her, is bare. It's empty. She does eventually end up getting shopkeepers in, and then residents in, and customers and stuff. But for at least a little period of time there, she's on her own. And then a little bit of time after that, it's just her and the shopkeeper. And no residents. But I think it's around that time where she's had one, maybe two shopkeepers, that Keveddy and Jayeddy enter the picture and end up being a huge pain in Little Nell's search for a shopkeeper to a new shopkeeper once the old one passes on, because Jayeddy and Keveddy find it hilarious to say this fellow's name, Michael, constantly. But they like how the name sounds, so they just repeat it constantly. I don't know if that fellow Michael ends up actually becoming one of the shopkeepers of the Curiosity Shop. I think he might just be kind of like a temporary guardian for the shop as they're trying to find someone. Mostly because I do not see him sticking around with these two literally just like following him around, saying his name. Like parrots. Or actually, parrots might be a good example. But like parrots slash puppies slash cats who don't give a darn what you want. And you can't ignore them. Yeah, so that's actually this teasing bit is kind of supposed to be after or around the same time they're teasing Michael, because if they end up being from this organization, emotional expression is not something they're used to. So they really go overboard for a very long time to essentially try and figure out who they are and what they like. Um, though apparently they learn very quickly they like the name Michael. Feel so sorry for him. I feel so sorry for him, and yet I'm the author putting him through these things. I don't know how that works. Okay, but that's everything. Okay, I have to get going, so bye, folks.